Good morning, and welcome to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Aegis nodes in Season 10 of Alliance War, and I've got this nice little meme here. Ignore the typo, things happen. But Aegis, aggressive and extreme grievance, instilling salt. I definitely think that a lot of people are incredibly frustrated, rightfully so, by this node, but today that's why I want to talk about considerations for this node from both the attacker and the defender side, as well as some counterplay tips that I've thought of over the last couple of days. But so we're on the same page. Aegis intercept is the defender begins with X indestructible charges. Intercepting the defender's attack removes 1 charge, and the Aegis heavy is the defender begins with X indestructible charges. Each heavy attack strike against the defender removes 1 charge. And when you are in the higher tier Alliance War maps, you do have to do both of these in the same fight. And it is a stacked charge of 3. Just off the get-go, I am going to say I think that it would be reasonable for Kabam to drop this number down and or increase the amount of time we have in a fight, because I think the major issue people have is not in the difficulty of this, as it is very hard, but people respect difficulty scaling in an Alliance War, but in the fact that with only 3 minutes and the amount of difficult champions people can stack on this node just to make it even harder, that they don't have enough time to end the fight in addition to handling this. It's just so much of a time crunch. And I totally understand and I totally agree. I think that just knocking this down to 1 alone would make it hard enough with the champions people are stacking on this. Or perhaps in the highest difficulty it's 3, and then it goes down to 2, and then down to 1. And I think that would be reasonable. But that said, I have a list of champions I think are going to be good against Aegis. Both in general, I think these are going to be good. And so general considerations I made for this list, and keep in mind this is not a comprehensive list, just kind of a quick rundown, are either champions that benefit from being able to handle this node. So for example Quake, I'll explain, or champions who benefit from really long fights like Void. I believe while they are indestructible, they do not have immunity from debuffs. So Void, once you do finally break those indestructible charges, will have some debuffs stacked on the opponent, and or other champions that are able to maybe multitask the nodes. So while they're clearing the nodes, they are also clearing missions, or are able to burst down champions immediately after they've cleared the node finally, champions that provide some kind of defensibility. So I'll go through these one at a time, but first I want to make the comment that when you see Aegis intercept and Aegis heavy, a lot of people think you have to do 1 at a time, but my general tip would be, if possible, what you actually want to do is get yourself backed off from the opponent, and while they have no special, you want to hold a heavy attack and intercept with said heavy attack, and in this manner you've put yourself in a position where you are knocking both down at the same time, and 3 heavy intercepts will actually clear this node all at the same time. So that said, let me just do a quick rundown of all of these champions one at a time. So I believe Quake is going to be your queen of clearing this node when she's applicable. So Quake, when you hold heavy attack, you're not going to get damage from the concussion, but what you will get is an auto evade if you fail to get that intercept off. So essentially you're going to hold heavy attack and bait out a medium attack, and if you make up, you're going to dodge back, bait out a medium attack, and if you make a mistake, you do get that auto evade, and you won't be punished if you dex properly, parry properly afterwards. And because of that, you can kind of push the opponent back by punching into their block, bait out a special here or there to create some distance, and then go back to dashing backwards, holding heavy, and trying to heavy intercept, knocking both nodes down after 3 tries without really facing any kind of punishment. And then once you've done that, you can proceed to just beat them up, and ideally you probably already have some concussions stacked up on them by the time you've completed this. And so I think she's going to be top tier for clearing this node, and as a result I think a lot of people will put True Strike champions here, but that brings you into other champion rosters that you won't have to worry about from the defender perspective, and I'll cover that next. Next up is Void. Void, while they are immune, I do believe that they are not immune to the debuffs, so the debuffs will stack while you are attempting to clear these nodes, and so it's really just a matter of being patient, and then once the nodes are gone, you have all those debuffs stacked, and then you can punch into them and hopefully end the fight in time despite the shortened time you have essentially. Next up is Proxima Midnight. Proxima Midnight, I believe, is good is because if you get lucky, you get the intercept mission, or perhaps you get the parry mission, and then you can hammer them out, the node independently, like one with heavy attack and one with intercept, and then you'll already be part of the way towards completing your mission. And then all you have to do is build up to a special 3. Your mission will be complete, and ideally, you find yourself in a position where you're able to just press special 3 or maybe special 2 and end the fight, or at the very least maybe you can rotate into a second mission and then try to clear that if your mission timer expires before you can get a special off, which is very likely. And then Luke Cage I have on here because he does do a lot of raw high damage, and additionally he has that indestructibility once awakened. So if you are going for that heavy intercept strategy, he does give you that like one-time indestructibility, which will give you some benefit, but also like you probably can get 2 heavy attack attempts in with that indestructibility, and then you have 35 seconds less if you have him higher sig to get that next attempt in between. And so hopefully with that, plus his ability to stun lock, you should be able to end the fight with him. Next I have Hyperion. Hyperion's heavy intercept isn't great, but he does have a heal ability if you decide to take the nodes one at a time, and you're using like heavy attack to bait, as well as every time you punch your heavy attack into them, hopefully you're stacking Furies, you have that passive power gain, and so immediately once you've completed all of the node completions, you should have a special 3 completed, as well as if you do the heavy attack 1 second, like if you do them one at a time, when you do the heavy attack 1 second, you should have Furies stacked up, so you'll be able to get a lot of burst damage in immediately afterwards, and that is definitely going to be something you need. Next up is Nebula. So I have a question mark on Nebula here just because she does require a lot of skill, but I do believe that if you can properly manage to do heavy intercepts with her, and or to do all your parry heavy attacks up front, right, and then do your block intercept strategy. If you watch Dork Lessons, he has a great video on how to do like the hold block and then tap the right side of the screen to get an intercept off, and if you do that, you can both be charging up Nebula as well as clearing the nodes at the same time. And then, once you've cleared all the nodes, you should have some shock charges stacked up, and then it's just a matter of building up some more shock charges, and then, getting an SP2 off to end the fight. And that massive damage she can get out really quickly will help you with that reduced timer you have. Symbiote Supreme I have on here because probably by the time you've completed the nodes, you will have your special 3, pop your special 3, and then hopefully pop off in the fight. This one, I should mention, will be kind of tricky because it is kind of reliant on the opponent being like a buffer champion, but not so much of a buff champion that you are running into just death, because Symbiote Supreme does rotate through that buff nullification, so if you aren't able to handle both nodes in time, you're going to just probably time out. But also, having your SP3 up by the time those nodes are clear, you can probably end the fight with him. Just be mindful that he is super squishy, so you are going to struggle in that regard. Ebony Maw I have on here. I think he's going to be one, another strong one, because Ebony Maw has that falter, so while it does take a long time to get up to that falter, it is a free heavy attack charge intercept at the same time, because you can just wait until they're comboing into you, charge your heavy attack, and then hit them. The unfortunate consideration with Ebony Maw here is that you might have trouble clearing the fight, as his damage is pretty trash. But if you are bringing like Cull Obsidian Ebony Maw, once you've cleared this node or these nodes, at least then you can bring Cull Obsidian to other fights, and I do think Cull Obsidian will be good in fights like this. Next up I have Iron Man Infinity War. I have him here because he does have that unblockable heavy attack, so if you do have to let it go because they're not dashing into you for some reason, they're just holding block, you might be able to penetrate their block and still get that heavy attack anyways, and then it's just a matter of intercepting. But also his medium dash attack is a repulsor, so it can't be parried, so if you are going for an intercept and you're being greedy with it, you won't be punished by a parry if you make a mistake. Modok has an incredibly long range on his heavy attack. It's an incineration, but also he has that auto block, so if you're like going for intercepts, that auto block will help keep you from just like instantly getting comboed out. Not so great on the damage department once you've cleared the nodes, but hopefully because of the long range heavy attack he has as well as the auto block feature, you will be able to clear those much quicker. Medusa, for the same reason, she has that auto block feature, but also she just has a massive amount of damage, and so she'll be really good. Her heavy attack's not the greatest when it comes to priority, so with her you probably want to handle this one at a time, but it is great because after 9 seconds the auto block you get on does parry, so you do get a free heavy attack. Essentially it would only take roughly like 30 seconds because you do have to time in some time for them to actually hit into the auto block. And then you'll get all 3 heavy attack ones for free, so you can spend the time while your Furies are building up trying to get those 3 intercepts down, and then once the Furies are blocked set up, you can literally just drop your guard and let them attack into you, get that auto block parry, heavy attack into them. Corvus Glaive I've got here because 1, his heavy attack priority is phenomenal, but 2, once you do finally get all the nodes down, he has incredible burst damage and will probably be able to end the fight for you. I have the thing here with a question mark, just because if for some reason you are able to build up the charges you need on him to go unblockable, unstoppable, that is incredibly useful when it comes to like getting a heavy attack or intercepts off, because you could build up to 15 charges and then drop your guard, let them attack into you, and then you get your hit intercept for free, as well as just like time your heavy attacks with standard parries. I have Ghost here because in addition to massive damage, the phasing ability makes the intercept portion of this incredibly easy, and as long as they are stunnable, you can parry and then get that heavy attack with the Fury bonus as well. So I would do intercepts first, followed by the parry heavy attack, so that you can start the damage portion of this node phase with those Fury buffs. Obsidian I have here because he does place those armor breaks. He does have a pretty decent priority on his heavy attack, so if you want to do the heavy attack intercept strategy, but if you do decide to play it safe, he does have an insane amount of damage if you dash back start your route, as well as like a lot of other benefits to him if you can manage that properly. Then I have Kimura here just because of she does have pretty decent priority with her intercept ability. Heavy attack's not amazing, but her light attack is a pretty good intercept. But more importantly, once you are in the damage phase, her specials do insane amount of damage, so if you can just get to like a special 2, you can probably end the fight, even if it might take a special 2 and a special 1. Next up I have Kingpin. Kingpin, because his heavy attack does make him unstoppable, that is going to make the heavy attack intercept strategy much more viable. I have Doc Ock on here because of his ability to power lock off of a heavy attack, which is going to be very, very necessary against a lot of champions. And then I have Emma Frost. I have Emma Frost on here just because thinking about how durable she is, that might help out a little bit. I don't think she's going to be very high up on the list. This list isn't tier based, it's just a list of champions. I know I'm missing some, like Scarlet Witch probably would be pretty decent for this if you can manage. Magic might be good. Maybe not, probably actually, but those are just some considerations. And then from the defender consideration, right, so the most important part of this is that you are able to spectate the map in advance, and I'll put a timestamp here so that people, you know, starting the video from the beginning who want to skip the champion rundown can jump straight to this defender / attacker consideration. So when you are picking a champion, the most important thing when you're taking this path is that you go and you look who is on these nodes, because what's most important is that these nodes aren't hidden. You can see the champion you're going up against. So while you're like, Ebony Maw is OP on this node, and you're totally right, he's incredibly frustrating, and there's many other frustrating champions. The thing is, you know what you're getting into. So Ebony Maw can only be parried on the light attacks. Well, the thing about Ebony Maw is that you could heavy intercept him very well. He doesn't have the most priority on his medium attacks, so as long as you take someone with a longer range with their heavy attack, or someone who doesn't get punished as well, like this is a great example of when Kingpin will be king, a great example of where Quake would be queen, Void would be amazing, Proxima has amazing range, Luke Cage if you don't want to be punished as much, and then the only consideration you have to be worried about here is the faltering stage, and you want to make sure you're not heavy attacking into a falter, and unfortunately that's just going to be a period of time where you're just stuck waiting. But on the bright side, as long as you don't take a cosmic champion here, it's not crazy long. Next up, and this consideration actually, thing about Ebony Maw, the reason people think he's so OP is because of the fact that you essentially can't stun him for the most part, and this applies to any other champion that can't be parried, can't be stun immune, is stun immune, or very, very low stun timers. You just do this heavy attack intercept strategy, and then get really, really good at that. And I'm not trying to deny how much skill that's going to take. It's just this is the strategy you would employ and would need to practice in order to be able to take these types of champions out. Next up is if you have to go up against someone who's unstoppable. The most frustrating example of this, I think, would be Rhino, because Rhino would mean that you cannot use the heavy attack intercept strategy that I said for using both at the same time. But on the flip side, you would be able to handle this just by normal methods, and Rhino's not a hard fight besides the unstoppable part. So all you need to do is bring someone who's bigger than him, perhaps like Hulk Ragnarok. I believe Cull Obsidian is as big as him, and those are just a couple examples. I'm not the greatest when it comes to champion size. Or you can just do this one node at a time. In order to handle the intercept, you could bring like Ghost and do it in between combos. You could bring Invisible Woman and do it in between combos. Or you just essentially have to bring someone bigger than him really to handle this node. But again, you will know it's a Rhino, and besides the fact that you have to be bigger than him, it's a free fight from there. Because there's no other mechanics. Other unstoppable champions are like Unstoppable Colossus, which you just got to time out, but you already have to do that, so it doesn't really change this node besides that minor frustration. And then from there, you can just do the heavy attack intercept strategy the same, and then it's just a matter of doing it right. And then there's like long fight benefit or benefits from just time passing. So you can't see it here. Let's see. There we go. So the long fight benefit, one example is Void, and in this situation you would have to bring someone who shrugs or someone who is a non-special reliant power drain / power lock champion. And the reason I say that is this way you can punch into Void to get that debuff removed. Really not great, but I would highly recommend just bringing Shrug. I don't imagine anyone's going to stick their Void here because honestly they'd probably just use it on attack, but if they do, just bring Shrug. There are plenty of champions who can Shrug debuffs, can do it rather consistently, and are still great champions to bring into fights. Ronin can Shrug one every time. By the time he's completed by that, that's a bad example because I probably wouldn't bring Ronin into Void, but that's just one. Other than that is like King Groot. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not the greatest versatility here on champions, and I'm kind of tired. But there are plenty of champions who shrug, and those are options you have. Hyperion. If Hyperion's the defender here, that's just one example of someone who would be incredibly frustrating because essentially what I'm saying is power gain. If they have passive power gain, you need to bring non-special reliant power drain / power lock champions. I think Doc Ock would be amazing here. Scarlet Witch, if you can get those procs in, which actually Scarlet Witch nicks that. You can't do that. Symbiote Supreme would give you like a good start off. You would have like 9 seconds to at least get the node started. Those are the only 2 examples I can really think of at the moment, but I'm sure there are others. I believe Ebony Maw, even if he doesn't do damage, I believe the power drain effect he has still takes effect. Stark Spidey, with his ability to bait specials. I'll put a comment in here also, bait specials. So that said, this is my thoughts and consideration on the node. I'm not trying to deny that this node is incredibly frustrating, but please watch my other related video for why you shouldn't let this alliance war stress you out, because I think that if you don't let it stress you out for the reasons I present in that video, these node considerations become fun instead of aggravating. So that said, I will talk to you later. I'll just talk to you later.